SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. So the CFL game is slowing down right now, and I talked about it. The Argonauts played the Elks on Saturday night. It's Thursday night, cross-country. It's like 3,000 miles. It's not like a short trip. And it's quick turnaround. And this game has just sort of been, it's been very sloppy on both sides, slowing down right now. All right, so we're into level 3 here, but Rafael Esparza in the house. And Rafael is also a wrestling aficionado and has been setting lines on wrestling. And this is another thing. I was joking about tractor pulls and Jiu-Jitsu. Wrestling betting is getting bigger and bigger. I know the Endeavor, they applied for like in the state of New Jersey and to basically say, listen, there's no difference in betting on the Grammys or whatnot. And they said, we'll even give you the effing results first if you're worried about like shady stuff happening, because they view betting as good for their business. I see DraftKings sponsors a lot of this wrestling stuff. Yep. For a reason, right, Raph? What's the betting market like in wrestling now? And tell us about a documentary you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the history of wrestling is all because of Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. I mean, that was probably the reason why wrestling betting is so big. I mean, Undertaker was minus 1,000 on that match, and Brock Lesnar wins to give him his first loss in WrestleMania. So ever since that, it just gets growing. I mean, people think, oh, but it's fixed and all that. I mean, if you talk to the people in the back room and how they hide the picks and how they hide the results until they actually get into the ring, either the ref tells them or they're walking out and they find out who's winning and stuff like that. So they keep it really closed circuit. I mean, you can't bet. Most places are $100 max bets, maybe 500 during WrestleMania. You can't blow out the house and put up six figures on a wrestling bet, but it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're going to start seeing it probably more mainstream. I would think maybe in the next couple of years. But yeah, I'm actually going to work on a little WrestleMania documentary, the history of betting WrestleMania. We're trying to find at least 10 years. I have close to 70. I've been doing WrestleMania betting odds for 8 years. So I'm missing 2 years. So I'm trying to find out the next 2 years I'm missing. So hopefully we'll have that done sometime next year. A little documentary of the history of history of WrestleMania betting. Jonathan Coachman will be doing it with me. He used to work for WWE and ESPN. So it's going to be kind of interesting to do something like that.
Rafael Esparza. Rap, before we get you out of here, countdown to kickoff is on. We were talking about the CFL, but college football around the corner, man. Starts August 24th this year with a couple of games. FSU and Georgia Tech in Ireland, and Nevada and SMU on that first Saturday on the 24th. And then the 31st, it's off and running. All this conference realignment and stuff, it's going to hurt a lot of teams that aren't used to losing as many games as they're about to start losing. But from a fan and a betting perspective, I think college football is going to be bigger than ever this year. And it's not really a hot take, but you know what I mean?
Agree.
Like, it's already big, but, dude, like all day long now on Saturday, Ralph, it's just going to be like major games. Like, oh, yeah, Michigan's playing USC at 12 and UCLA, Ohio State at 8 and Penn State and Oregon and the SEC. SEC and Big Ten are just going to take over Saturdays and stuff. It's going to be like massive big-time matchups all day long.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see parity now with all the college alignments and stuff like that. We're not going to see an SEC dominant playoff and stuff like that. You're going to see playing more playoff games means more injuries. So we might see a quarterback get hurt in the first playoff game, and maybe they get upset in the second playoff game. So I think parity is going to be huge with the expansion of the college football playoff.
Level 3 has begun. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people to bust them, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. Shout out to all of our AM radio affiliates joining us. We got Rafael Esparza in the house with us just for a couple of more moments. We've got Big Card Julio. JN Reports will step up and in, former play-by-play voice of the Windy City Bulls and Chicago State University. Will throw it down with us, and also a soccer aficionado and better, Rafael Esparza, longtime oddsmaker and handicapper, with us right now. So before we get you out of here, Raf, the Copa and the Euro unfortunately has been off for a couple of days, but it starts again on Saturday, and then USA goes down tonight. Not a full shock, but I get it. Listen, Panama's caused the USA problems in the past. Yet at the same point in time, with the talent that the U.S. team has, Berhalter's not getting the best out of them. And you don't have to be Pele to know that it's just, where's the creativity? Where's the pressure? We talked about it earlier. How the hell do you have 0 corner kicks against Panama, Rafael? What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to look at it. At least we're not Mexico, who lost to Venezuela. I mean, so you have to look at it that way. I mean, you have to play now just for a point against Uruguay. I mean, yeah, go for the 3 points, but just don't lose in that game and then you can still advance. So the next game, all right, erase this game. You lost to Panama. You were shorthanded pretty much the whole game. Let that go and battle for Uruguay. Try to get at least 1 point or even 3 points because they just come off a 5-0 win, so they're not going to be needing to win this game. They just probably don't want to get any hurt. So I say try to get any points against Uruguay and just advance.
Well, that's the thing. Uruguay have been dominant, so they've already won the group, and they don't have to worry about this game. And we see in the Euro, most of the teams that rested people ended up either losing or drawing, right? Portugal did, and they lost. Germany did. They ended up getting the draw when they rested some players. Uruguay are so damn good, though. For the record, the game is essentially, the U.S. are actually favored. USA are plus 155. Draw is plus 220. Uruguay is plus 187. The way the U.S. is playing right now, Rafael, I don't care if it's Uruguay's backups. Like, I can't lay a price with USA against Uruguay.
I agree. I will have no action on that one. Maybe corners if I can get 2.5 or 3.5, because you figure they would probably get more corners. In this
Uruguay
game.
has more corners.
Yeah, but I would probably just sit back and watch it and cheer for USA to get a point, not 3 points. Just give me 1 point.
Canada just need a single point. They need a draw against Chile. They will advance, surprisingly, out of their group. Nice win against Peru, but Peru were a man down. They got red carded. What do you think about Canada and Chile on Saturday night?
Like the under 2.5, you can get it anything lower than minus 150. But I think if you can get plus 1.5, wait to see if any Chile money comes in. I maybe just get the plus half. I think Canada can keep this close. Maybe a draw, get that plus half goal. If it's a draw, you still cash. Really like the under 2.5 because I think your goals are going to be hard to get in that game.
I like where you're going with that. Chile are struggling to score. They're tough defensively. If you look at Canada have a really good goalie, LAFC goalie, Max Crepeau. is their goalie. And look, look at these states. He stopped Messi twice on breakaway.
Yeah.
Breakaway. Messi had two clear one-on-one chances with the keeper, got stopped. He made a great save against Peru. He's been really, really, really good, Kripo. Canada have only given up 2 goals in 2 games. And as I stated, they only need a draw in this game. So they're going to be very cautious. But Chile's going to have to come at them here. So finally, before we get you out of here, Raphael, so Bronny James, when it's all said and done, ends up getting drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. JJ Redick is the head coach of the Lakers right now. What do you think, buying or selling the circus that this thing is becoming, and it will be next year? Look at how it started with JJ already. What do you think about the Lakers situation?
Yeah, is it shocking that JJ's first pick for the Lakers was a white guy that shoots threes? I mean, that wasn't a shocker at all. But
almost as surprising as Danny Ainge drafting a Mormon tonight. But I digress.
Yeah. The only thing that does not shock, I like the pick of Dalton Knecht, because that just tells me that they're going to trade Austin Reeves to try to get another player in there. Maybe look for the Bulls to make some noise on that one, maybe the Atlanta Hawks. But they will trade Austin Reeves because you don't need Nett and Austin Reeves on the court at the same time. So that just tells me that the Lakers are going to make a move to bring someone with them to help them out. Bronny James coming off the bench probably won't do that much. And then, unless they trade Russell, which I don't think they're gonna. But if they get rid of Russell, then I think Bronny plays a little bit more.
Bold takes here.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen. And the answer is, it just did.
The bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve a label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Thanks to Rafael Esparza for joining us. I know it was awkward. People join us, some of the AM radio affiliates join us when we're already sort of starting a mini segment on SiriusXM 159. So if you want the full show, check out sportsgrid.com, SiriusXM channel 159. And we've got a YouTube page for those of you that don't have the various platforms that we're on. We're on Amazon Freevee, Roku, basically everything. Right, so if you just go to sportsgrid.com, where to watch, go to the website, and or just go to the SportsGrid YouTube page, and we got a chat going as well. So thanks to Rafael for joining us. Big Card Julio will step up and in. We're gonna focus a lot. We'll get into some soccer picks. USA lose to Panama tonight, and listen, it's not like the biggest shocking. It's not like the woman that said that Zach Edey was like the worst pick in the history of the NBA draft. It's like that might be a little bit extreme, all right? Considering that his prop was 14.5 and he went 9th. It wasn't exactly some like massive reach that Zach Edey got drafted when he did. I think Zach Edey's just, quite frankly, better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think Zach Edey, because he's sort of like, he's sort of like a Frankenstein type of kid. And, he doesn't really talk. He's not very personable and stuff. I don't know. You know what I mean? People, like, sometimes the media will embrace people and they're like, oh, he's so cool, and they'll overhype them. Zach Edey, like, he's always doubted all the time. Right? For a dude that's like 7'4", you figure people wouldn't doubt him as much as we do and people do. But I thought that was like way over the top. Oh, it's the worst pick ever. And the fact of the matter is, one thing about the NBA draft, I'll say this. You'll notice, and in the NBA as a whole, people like talk about there's no room for big men anymore. No room for big men anymore. In a couple of years, the NBA, there'll be no room for anybody that's, smaller than 6'7", okay? Look at what's going on in the NBA right now. Like point guards are 6'9". Look at all these French kids that are coming over and going to take the league over. Look at Wembanyama. Wembanyama is like 7'4", going on 7'5". He handles the ball like a point guard. Like, so you need size. Like this whole, I've seen a lot of people talk, like so-called experts, like about the draft and, well, in the new modern NBA. What do you mean the modern NBA of like freaking giants? Look at what teams are doing. Look what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing. You think are they a small team? No, like they're as long and as big as possible, right? Look at the San Antonio Spurs of Wembanyama, who's the future of the league. Is he like small, right? You know what I mean? Like is Luka Doncic, is he small, right? Like no. Like, the fact of the matter is, big men are coming back. Now, you gotta be able to run. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to move, right? But Zach Edey can, right? Look, I'll tell you what, one thing about Zach Edey. Like I said, he's got a chip on his shoulder because, people always think he's just some big stiff and he's just tall and whatever. He's not good. But he's really improved his game. His footwork is better than people give him credit for. And oftentimes in college, like when you're on Purdue, right, they're trying to win games. They're not letting him shoot threes and stuff, right? You put him in a gym, you let him shoot a million threes, and like, you know what I mean? He can expand his game. But one thing with Zach Edey, he got an invite to Canada's team last year, and Canada's pretty loaded when it comes to the basketball team now. And it was like, you know what? This kid's like the player of the year. He wants to play. Let's give him a shot, bring him into camp. And the thought was, let's just bring him into camp and let him play against these NBA guys, and, he won't make the team. He made the team. They were like, you know what? He's good. He's good enough. He made the team on merit. He's good. And then he actually, no one thought he would play much. And then he actually played in like the World Cup for Canada against other NBA players. And he once again looked good, right? Like really good. He was like 8 for 8 from the field one game. And like he was blocking shots. He was causing a lot of people a lot of problems. And then he went back to Purdue this past year, and we saw what happened. He absolutely killed it. And then in the NCAA tournament, he killed it. And then in the NBA Combine, he killed it. So, this kid just keeps getting better and better. So, worst pick ever, my ass. Your take was the worst take ever. Let's just call that out for what it is. So, it's pretty good, though, that we just talked about Zach Edey instead of Bronny James and his draft pick by the Los Angeles Lakers. What a shock that he went to the Lakers. Listen, I'll be honest. The only thing I'm upset about this is the fact that I didn't just bet it. We talked about it earlier in the week that LeBron and Paul basically told everyone in the NBA, don't go anywhere near him. I don't think a lot of teams are really lining up to draft him in the first place. But, listen, I feel bad for Bronny James, even though I shouldn't. He doesn't feel bad for me that I'm about to lose a big bet on a CFL total, does he? Right? But, like, this whole thing is just so cringe. And let me throw this out here. If if Rob Pelinka was in complete control of things, do you think he would say, you know what, we need to add this kid out of USC that scored 4 points a game? No. Right? No. Do you think he really would have said, you know what, I'm going to hire J.J. Redick as the coach. He'd be my guy. It's pretty clear who's running this team. I know, like, LeBron wants to pretend that, you know, he never knows what's going on and I'm just another guy. Okay, you're just another guy. We hired your podcast partner as our coach, and now we just drafted your son. Like, you know, I don't know how much more control that they can give LeBron James right now. And no disrespect, I like J.J. Redick. No disrespect to J.J. Redick, but J.J. Redick is the head coach of the Lakers because the Lakers know that LeBron James likes him. And that's basically been the problem, like, right? You know, like LeBron, you know what I mean? He likes you until he doesn't, and then that is done, right? And I get LeBron James the thing is, like, the Laker brand is bigger than LeBron. Like, the Lakers were already the Lakers before LeBron, and they will be the Lakers after LeBron. Yet, like, they bend over so much, like, and, you know, just facilitate him so much as far as bringing in players that are, like, you know what I mean, because they have the same agent and they're part of the same crew. How about we just try to put together the best possible team as opposed to the politics behind this all the time? We'll hit more on the other side. This is SportsRage.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game
And guess
time
what?
decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust them, and everybody else in between. We'll get back to the Copa and into some Euro soccer talk and more in a couple of moments. But just as far as the NBA draft was concerned, so today was day 2. And I was quickly reminded today about just how annoying NBA media is, NBA social media is, NBA takes online are. And it was just, it's almost like, oh. And the LeBron and the Bronny James coverage is just, it's over the top, right? It's worse than like, I'd rather see like this. I'd rather see a story about Kelsey and Taylor Swift at this point. I mean, are we going to talk about a player this much that was drafted 55th overall in the NBA draft? And, I'm not here to judge anybody. And as I said, listen, I think Bronny James is and has the talent to be in the NBA, right? But, and it's easy for me to say, but if I was Bronny James, it's not like you're struggling for money in your life, okay? So if you were Bronny James, like, would you really want like this to be played out like this? Wouldn't it be better off if you would have said, listen, Dad, I love you and I know I know you want what's best for me, but I think it's best that I go back to USC for another year and, improve my draft stock, get more experience on the court against elite talent. USC's in a Big Ten now, let's not forget. Play some Big Ten basketball for a year, improve my draft stock, and get drafted on my own merit. And like I said, no disrespect, right? I mean, the kid works hard, and he came back from a life-threatening situation, but it's too soon. It's too much. And, Woj comes out and says anybody that's getting upset about this because of nepotism is being hypocritical because nepotism exists in the NBA in a big-time way, and we're going to start to call it out now. So even Woj himself didn't say, listen, this kid can play in the NBA. This kid is ready to be in the NBA, and he's getting drafted on his own merits. Michael Jordan has a bunch of sons. A couple of his kids were pretty good at basketball. Remember, one of them was like the best one. I think it might have been Jeff, not the one that plays off the court with Pippen's wife. Not that one. There was another one that was like serious about basketball. He played at UCF. He was he was all right. He was pretty good. I think, off the top of my head, I could be wrong. I could look it up, but he scored 13, 14 a game type of deal. Like, he wasn't bad. He wasn't a star, but it was like, yeah, he's not, he's not going to be in the NBA. Michael Jordan didn't like threaten every team in the NBA and basically right? Like, there's just so much wrong with this. Like, if I was Bronny James, I'd say, listen, I'm going to go back to college for another year. And if I'm good enough to be the 55th draft pick this year, then, you know what I mean? I mean, I had a freaking heart attack last year, and I missed half the year. And I only scored 5 points a game. Oh, but he's a good two-way player. How many great two-way players, like, would get laughed at? Like, hey, I'm a good two-way player, but I only scored 4 points a game in a Pac-12. Yeah, okay, kid. Have fun playing in Turkey. Right? Like, come on. It's just, and like I said, like Woj coming out and defending the nepotism thing. And it's true. Nepotism exists like massively in the world and in sports. I get it. But this is like a step too far. And, like a draft party today and, oh, we're so proud of you and stuff. It's like basically like hiring a hooker and getting married to a hooker and then saying to your kid, oh, yeah, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were going to get married. It's like, yeah, well, you hired her. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you've been promoted. What, your dad owns the company. Well, what a shock. Oh, you got promoted. Does LeBron own the Lakers now? I mean, for a guy that's like only got a year, for a guy that always flirts with retirement and only got not that much time left. Like I said, like, it's amazing to me that the Lakers facilitate him as much. Like, what happens like when LeBron's gone and JJ Redick is there? All right, let's just say it's not going well with Jay. Well, they'll just replace him after, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, and it sounds crazy to say, because I'm not saying LeBron is a bad player. I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything of this, but the Lakers are just stuck until this whole LeBron thing is over. They can't, there's no room. Like, you know what I mean? AD and him make all the money. Like, the Lakers will always be the Lakers. People, like, you know what I mean? There'll always be a star that wants to be the star of the Lakers and be the man there. But as long as it is right now, I don't care if it's JJ Redick, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. Doesn't matter. What are you going to do with his roster? And all this connect stuff is going to do this and that. If there's one league in which the draft does not correlate into the rest of the leagues, it's the NBA. Everyone looks good in college. The NBA is hard.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy
Confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
in-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes you think
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. So we've got our eye on the CFL game that's going on live right now in the late night hours. We're into the fourth quarter, and we've got another parlay buster going on. There's been a lot of upsets in like every league and every sport around the world. We've seen in the soccer, and the BC Lions are big favorites tonight, 7-point favorites in this game. They're trailing by 5. With about 3 minutes left in this game. We'll see if they're able to come back. Edmonton keep losing close football games all the time and covering the number. They're going to cover the point spread again, up 18-13 with 2:57 left to be exact. So speaking of upsets, like I said, like this week, and one parlay buster after another, the books are just killing it. England is a good example. Like the English soccer team, they can't win, they draw, they lose. Like, you know what I mean? To them, it's like a loss. And, big parlay buster, everybody's betting on them. And we've seen like these one big upset after another. Brazil were 12-1 favorites against Costa Rica. They couldn't score the other night, which leads us into tonight's match with USA and Panama, which, listen, anytime it's the U.S., it's not like the U.S. is a global power or anything like that, but it gets frustrating, and Canada and the U.S. soccer programs are very, very similar. USA is probably a little bit more advanced, although, Canada is kind of caught up, but in a sense that the World Cup is coming in 2026, and it's not good enough just to be in these tournaments anymore. It's not good enough to say, oh, you know what I mean? Like at some point, you need to start winning. Right? At some point, you need to start seeing some results. It can't just be, oh, it's cool that we play, but we don't have a chance against any of the good teams in the world. And that's kind of where we're at now. We're going to find out a lot about Canada when they play Chile on Saturday. All they need is a draw to qualify. It would be massive for them. But as far as the U.S. is concerned, it was kind of a flat performance, albeit not terrible in the opening match. They handled their business. They won against Bolivia. They got the 2-0 win. It wasn't a flattering win, but hey, anytime you win in a big-time tournament like this, listen, I'm not saying the Copa's not easy, okay? Copa's not easy. And I want to also pretext this by saying you kind of see it's a lot, I'll put it in college football terms as far as like conferences in which you're kind of seeing like CONCACAF, we're not as good as South America. So like a lot of these countries that, are smaller and don't have a budget as much as these North American teams, or you think, oh, they should be able to beat this team. It's not that easy. I mean, remember Mexico played Uruguay in a friendly coming into this thing. Uruguay smoked them, right? Like you know what I mean? Like we saw USA and Colombia. It was a humbling experience. And so Panama is not a joke by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same point in time, with all the hype, and you got Pulisic, and you got Adams, you got all these players, all the, this great generation of soccer talent on a U.S. team. You have the World Cup coming up, and you can't beat Panama, right? Like in the United States, not like this thing was in Panama. It was crazy, man. We were playing in El Salvador, and there was like army, and you know what I mean. The field was bad. You're playing in Atlanta. Right? Like, you have 55,000 people. And the crowd as well sucked. I want to bring that up, too. No passion with the fans at all. And, USA scored an early goal. It gets called back. They score again. Then they give up a goal 4 minutes later after. But you can't just wait and cheer when something's positive. This is soccer. Like, you know what I mean? The team needs the support. And USA. Get the players going. It was a terrible atmosphere in the stadium tonight. And not to mention, horrible decision, red card early, deserving. It was just, it was an all-around disaster. I think Big Card Julio's ready to go here. And, as far as Greg Berhalter is concerned, just on his soccer merits alone, he should not be the coach of the team. It's the United States of America. You're hosting the freaking World Cup. You have all the money in the world. Hire a top-tier coach, right? And not to mention the controversy with this guy. Not to mention, like, what I mean? Like his personal life, and I don't want to relive it all, but he never should have been rehired in the first place from his personal background. And then on top of it, he's not even a good coach. And in fact, Jesse March, who is the coach of Canada, who's American, is a better coach than Berhalter is. Let's bring in Julio right now. What's up, Julio?
I'm just shaking my head at everything you're saying, Gabe. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, you got Jesse Marsh, who coached at Leeds United, who got shafted in the Bundesliga. And then you have Greg Berhalter, who was like second or third division in like Norway or some country. It's astonishing. Everything you said is correct. Look, they'll never spend the money on a manager. They had Jurgen Klinsmann, and everyone thought he was bad. The people in the national team in the federation. Honestly, one of the better results for CONCACAF is that little island in Costa Rica 0-0 draw with Brazil. I mean, Brazil probably treated that as a friendly, right? They probably thought it was a little training match. But Costa Rica, given their resources compared to what the United States have, to put on a better showing thus far in the Copa it's astonishing, Gabe.
I read today that Uruguay is the same size as Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I believe it, man. Like in Florida, like the region. And look at like how good they are. Listen, we know it's not easy. Soccer's tough. And I brought it up, and Julio, and congratulations, Venezuelan American. But we'll get to that. We'll get to the big win. But as we're seeing a little bit, the CONCACAF, we still have a ways to go, Julio, right? Like, the Panamas, the Perus, like these countries, like people like Canada were big favorites against Peru. It's like, Peru finished fourth in this stuff. And we saw it was a damn battle. And, you want to talk, so let me ask you, USA right now, they're going to need to beat Uruguay, right, to get in here. But Uruguay have already clinched, so you're going to get their backups. But the way they're playing, I think Uruguay's backups would beat the U.S. And honestly, I don't think Uruguay want to lose to the United States either. Like, even if it's a meaningless game to them, right. So I don't. They're not going to roll over for the Americans.
100%. I mean, their manager Marcelo Bielsa is one of the legendary managers in all of world football. Has, with a snap of a finger, changed the identity of the Uruguayan national team from a defensive South American stalwart with guys who can score to a team now that's like basketball, up and down the pitch, looking to score at any chance and can score at any opportunity. So I don't think the U.S., I would even be hard-pressed to the U.S. even get a goal against Uruguay.
And we talk about Jesse Marsh and, a manager that's managed big-time teams and pressure situations in Europe and the biggest leagues in the world. Also has experience. He also coached in Montreal before, Julio, with the Montreal Impact. Right now, CF Montreal or whatever, but, in MLS. So, he has MLS, North American experience. He's American, and he's coached, in the biggest leagues in the world and done a good job. And he didn't even get a look, right? He didn't get a look. I got to tell you, Canada are really lucky to get Marsh. And look at Julio. Look at, the attacking style Canada plays with, right? It's sort of like football, Julio, in a sense. You can run the ball and you can play it safe. You know what I mean? Like Bill O'Brien ball, with the Texans in the old day. Coaches that punt. Jeff Fisher. Wow, we're gonna punt from the 40. We're gonna pin them down. And we're gonna play smart. No, we're just gonna lose in a slow death, right? And Marsh basically told Canada, listen, we're younger, we're faster, we've got more talent than a lot of teams. Let's go after people. And if we lose, we lose. But let's go after them. And you're seeing it, right? Dude, against Argentina, bro. Canada had more pressure than Argentina did in the first half, Julio.
They look spectacular. The growth over the last few games from Netherlands to France to the tournament.
Yeah. And that's 4 games with Marsh only, guys. Berhalter sucks.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
The bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong. This is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Man, Vernon Adams is playing some great football. If you're an Oregon Duck fan, you would remember Vernon Adams, Eastern Washington as well. Played at Eastern Washington, then he transferred to the Oregon Ducks. He's been in the CFL for a couple of years, but now he's really a standout, like the best player in the league, arguably, with the BC Lions. And he just led the team like on a long drive. They had a 2-point convert that was overruled because of a penalty, and then they went back to like the 10. He threw like a big pass into the end zone. It was caught. There was another penalty, and they did it again. It's like he scored like 3 times in a row. And this is the thing with Edmonton. We talk about it. They can't close. They're in every football game, and then suddenly they find a way to lose in the last 2 minutes. I got a big teaser. I'm all over the place here in this game. For me, it'd be best. I'd rather see Edmonton actually kick a field goal and send this game to overtime, and then maybe we can hit the overs. I'm just thinking out loud as a bettor here, people. But it is what it is. These CFL games are like Copa America soccer games. You never know what the hell's going to happen in the last minute. Big Card Julio with us. Well, we knew Uruguay was going to roll tonight, and one thing with Uruguay, Julio, which is really good, a good bet, is clean sheet, man. These guys, they don't give up goals, bro. Like, they got burnt on a goal the other game, like literally on the last play of the game. They they thought it was over, and Buddy kicked it in. But, a dominant performance tonight. But let's move forward here, Julio. We'll get into the Euro, but looking at the Copa, let's start off with the Copa. We talked about Brazil being a massive disappointment. They're in action against Paraguay. And we got Colombia and Costa Rica. Costa Rica coming off that nice performance against Brazil, the scoreless draw. I think people are sleeping on Colombia a little bit, Julio. Colombia are a strong side.
Yeah, minus 300. It's certainly not the price I'm looking at. We're looking at the Asian handicap. I'd rather play Colombia -1, -110, and see if Costa Rica can put on another great performance in back-to-back games. And I think it was a huge wake-up call for Brazil. You think at some point it's going to be a wake-up call for this team, because when you watch them, they have so much great talent. But I think of Gamlu, especially when he talks about fighters that are hungry, fighters who are starving to get that big payday, that pay-per-view money, they go all out in the cage. The old Brazil that I grew up watching were guys that were hungry. They never got the big money deals that some of the Brazilians who play in Europe have gotten before they were even proving anything on the pitch. So there's got to be a wake-up call at some point for Brazil. So I'm taking them -1. If they don't beat Paraguay, then there's some real problems with that team.
No, great point as far as Brazil is concerned, Julio. And a parlay for the record, guys, Colombia. Listen, one thing about Costa Rica. Yeah, they had a scoreless draw with Brazil. They also got outshot 19-2, okay? So, they hung on for dear life. They can't really score Costa Rica. I think Colombia beats them. For the record, a Colombia-Brazil parlay, regulation parlay, is -124. But great point, Julio, by you. And Ronaldinho said it, so obviously you guys are right. And he said, man, he goes, these guys have no passion, right? He said, they're trying, but there's not they don't have that next level pride for Brazil and that jersey. And you said it, Julio, they're so heavily paid in these domestic leagues now. They don't have that, it used to be like that jersey was scary, right? It was like, oh boy, we're done. Right. Just looking at the jersey would scare people. Now it's like, no, don't worry. They're not invincible, these guys. And clearly they're not at all. But with that being stated, I do think they're going to beat Paraguay tomorrow. Like we said, a Colombia-Paraguay parlay is -124. Let's get into the to the Euros, and we'll get a recap of your best bets. But can't wait to get back to the Euros now that we're in the knockout stage, leading into the quarterfinals. So we start on Saturday once again with Italy and Switzerland. Italy, the defending champions, found a way with that late goal in the final play of the game. They're +140. Switzerland are +240. Draws +190. And the total, over under 2.5. Under 2.5 is -200. And I got to be honest with you, Julio, the first thing I saw when Switzerland and Italy were playing was, I'm taking the under. But it's -200. I'm still taking the under. This game's going to be scoreless after 90 or 1-1. It's going, and in fact, I think it's a draw after 90. I'll throw it out there right now, Julio.
No, I like that as well. I'm going to take first half draw at +125, and I agree with you. Let's shop around for the best price to see for a result. Actually, you like Italy in extra time, 10-1 at one book. Switzerland 12-1. Penalties. 8-1 for Switzerland, +750 for Italy. That's what I'm looking at. 90 minutes, +240 for Switzerland, +140 for Italy. So I think that's the market I'm looking at, especially for this game.
You know what? That's great odds, because I really would. And don't forget, guys, this is the first knockout game. So before we had draws, now we could potentially have penalty kicks, and it's eventually going to happen. This has been a wild tournament. I just don't trust Italy. They might be able to find a way to get through, but I think Switzerland are very live dogs here, plus a half a goal or, play a draw, plus 190, but I love the 2.5. Germany and Denmark, I don't think Germany roll them, Julio, but I think Germany are going to beat Denmark. Minus 154.
Yeah, it could be a 2-0 final score. I'm going to focus on the under 2.5 in that game and hope my luck. I'll even play some of the goal-scoring markets at 2-0, but I love the under in this game more so.
England, Slovakia. I don't think this is a spot that England chokes. Slovakia are scrappy, and you got Spain and Georgia. Spain are minus 500. England are minus 250. What do you think about Sunday's games?
I'm going to take Slovakia -2. I'm willing to pay a little bit of juice for that one. Minus 163 against England. I could see England winning in a nail biter. And I got to find some good prices for Spain because I think they win this game. If we can get them Spain in a clean sheet, that's the way I'm looking at in this game.
Remember, Spain was my pre-tournament prediction at plus 800. Now they're the second choice at plus 450, looking really good. Problem for Spain is that group, that side is just so brutal, right? Like if Spain win and Germany win, we got Germany and Spain in the freaking quarterfinals, man. More with Julio on the other side. It's SportsRage.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretcher, and you want home field advantage.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong. This is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Well, it really is amazing. We talked about it earlier, how the Edmonton Elks have lost. They lost the last two games by 3 points, and they lost by 2 or something in the first one, whatever. That's what it was. They've lost 3 games by a combined 8 points. And here it is right now, 21-21, 2 seconds left, and BC are about to try to kick a field goal to win the game. Even though I have BC, I'm all over BC. I would really rather overtime, to be honest, but I don't think this guy's going to miss. Because if it goes to overtime and we get some points, I can hit the over. I have a lot on the over. Not a lot, ton, but I knew this game was going to be close to the total, too. But here, he's trying to field goal right now. He's going to make it. And he makes it. I'm telling you, this BC kicker's money, man. He never misses. And BC wins 24-21 final score. BC Lions. I get screwed over on the teaser, Julio. You know what the teaser was? Over 46. They get to 45.
No. Football's back, my friend. Look, I don't want to hear anyone in a few weeks say, hey, football's back. No. Football's been back for at least a month now. So settle down.
Yeah. The only positive, you know what, I'll think brightly is, I have a lot of money on the BC Lions over 11.5 wins. So I'll take it. That's sort of like, that's a good thing about future betting.
Good win.
It's like, they didn't cover, but all right. We're a step closer to that 11.5 now. I'll take the win. So what are you looking at, Julio? We've gone over a lot of these matches. You got some specific best bets for us?
Uruguay to win the Copa America plus 400. They've been the best team in my eyes thus far. Let's go with Ecuador money line plus 170. This is the downfall of the Mexican national team. I mean, home game in LA and you lose and you can't even score against Venezuela. Downfall of Mexico. Ecuador plus 170. We'll go Turkey to qualify plus 175 against Austria. I think we'll get at least one upset in the bottom of the bracket of the Euros.
What do you think about the big Canada-Chile game on Saturday night? Canada is plus 270. Chile is plus, the draw is plus 230, and Chile is plus 105 to win. And it should be noted, Julio, so this game is in Orlando, Florida, and Chile need the win. Yeah, but at least it's at night. Canada just played in like 104 temperatures in Kansas City, like during the day. It was brutal. Like you guys saw the referee collapse. Like I thought he died. I was like, the ref just died. Like he just. And I don't know if this is a jerk move, Julio, but I was so mad because Canada like volleyed the ball into the box at the time, and I saw the ref in the corner of my eye collapse, and they stopped the play, and I was like, damn, he just got hit in the box. It should be a penalty kick, but the play got nullified because of the ref. So I tweeted, I said, I hope he's okay, but we just got screwed over here. But Chile need the win. Canada need the draw. It's always dangerous when you're playing for the draw. It would be a massive accomplishment. It's not going to be easy, but I tell you what, Julio, I think Canada is going to get the draw here. The draw is the bet, plus 220, plus 230.
I'll roll the dice with you on that one. I'll also take under 2.5 goals at minus 163. I can't believe these prices right now, Gabe. Plus 187, Uruguay on the money line. They were plus 145 like an hour ago. So I'm dipping my toes. I'm doing a cannonball into the pool. Uruguay plus 187.
Even with their backups? You know they're going to rest some
100%.
players.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't, like I said earlier, too, they're not going to want to lose to the U.S., right? It's just sort of, Uruguay are very, you know what I mean? It wouldn't go down well with them. So, and even their backups, Uruguay are one of the hardest teams to score on, as I said earlier. They're very difficult, these guys, to deal with. But if there's any time, and to be honest, Julio, it was kind of set up this way for the U.S. They kind of catch a break here. Like, imagine if they had to play Uruguay and Uruguay needed a point or something. The U.S. would be screwed. So at least Uruguay don't need the game.
True, but, I mean, now you're playing on goal differential. Uruguay put 5 against Bolivia. You only put 2, and that first goal was within 5 minutes. So I can't see Team USA scoring more than 2 against Uruguay, let alone 1.
Julio, great stuff. You can follow my man on Twitter at JN Reports. We'll see you online, Julio. Enjoy the games.
Appreciate it. Have a good weekend, guys.
There's Julio. Fun stuff talking soccer. We'll have some more soccer picks tomorrow, football, baseball tomorrow night, basketball. You know what? The Olympics are around the corner, so we're going to have some USA are playing Canada in like 10 days or something, 2 weeks. It's going to be cool. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.